So as I was saying, my commander deck. Welcome back to the Pan 3 podcast. This is Rich at Commander Capital, and we are here today to finish up the story on my last 60 card deck. But I don't know if I mentioned this one. I remember playing against elves a lot. I tried to remake an elf deck, but this is not really a good elf deck, not a good representation at all. But I remember at the Boys and Girls Club I was telling you about, everybody would play like elves or goblins or merfolk. It was like totally the thing. Everybody had the Goblin King and the, all that Lord of Atlantis and all that type of stuff. Anyway, I was a sucker when I was a kid for this card. To me, as a mechanics person, I'm just seeing this and like, wow, you're just multiplying. So early on in my Magic career, I got 4 Mana Flares and made decks around them. Oh, I love the Mana Flare. You could pump up your Fireball, and I don't know. It just seemed like broken. Like, how can you multiply your mana? So one of my first deck concepts was Sacred Mesa with Mana Flare. And then you can make tons of 1/1 Pegasus because you have so much mana. And yeah, that's the level of decks we had back in the day. But it was my idea. It was my creation, and I enjoyed it. I don't have the Sacred Mesa deck anymore. I might have some of those cards still around, but it is ultimately the reason, because it was difficult to do multicolor decks back in the day, especially white-red. They're enemy colors. But there was absolutely the reason that I bought my first dual land. Oops. Of course, everybody knows the dual land. Plateau. The land that was going to allow me to play the Sacred Mesa Mana Flare combo deck. Make all those Pegasus. So I went to the Gibraltar Trade Center to get this card. The trade show at Gibraltar would rotate every weekend, and occasionally there would be a collectibles show. And in the collectibles show, at the very back, there'd be a card show, and all the different vendors, all the different players would have different cases laid out. And I went and sought out this card. Not this Plateau, maybe. No, this one looks too nice. I got a beat up one. And I was talking to the guy, and he was selling it. He wanted to sell it to me for $3.50, believe it or not, in the year 2002. Beat up Plateau. I was going to buy it. But he said, you know what? Better yet, I'll give you a deal. Why don't you take all 4 of these? And he laid out Savannah, Plateau, Scrubland, and Tundra. All 4 dual lands that pair with white. And he said, I'll give you 4 for 10 if you take all 4. I realized what he was trying to do. He's trying to upsell me, be a good salesman. But, I'm a sucker for efficiency, a good deal, a better ratio. Felt like I was getting $1 off my card, and who doesn't want $1 off? So, being the sucker I was, I spent $10 on 4 dual lands. The other 3 I don't have here right now. Ah, what a sucker I was. Anyway, that's the story of how I got my first dual lands. I got 4 of them at once. And obviously that story, it doesn't even need to be told. Those cards are worth so much now. It's probably the reason I'm here today. Quite honestly, if the dual lands didn't go up so much and the cards weren't worth so much and the value wasn't so much, I probably wouldn't be doing this. Not that I don't love Magic cards, but wow, this just became such an investment opportunity. It took so much of my attention. So my final 60 card deck I was playing with my friend Eric, who he didn't want to play 60 card decks because he found out this new format. It was called Commander. And you know, there's been new formats throughout history, and you know, as a kid, you would just play like fast mana. You know, they always say you'd always be these kids that would try to say, let's just play fast mana, where you just pull your land down first turn. You know, you just ignore the like one land per turn rule. I guess because you're you don't have the patience to wait till third turn to play through, you know, your third land. Anyway, so I was just really always turned off by, you know, these all alternate like play styles. You know, anything that wasn't really sanctioned by Wizards, because it just seemed to be silly and like it would skew the rules. And it always seemed to be like a cheap way to play. But he kept trying to push me to play this commander format, and I really liked this deck at the time, and I was so against it partly because I was so in love with this deck. This deck, I would drop 4 mana flares out, start hitting frantic search, boosting my mana, snap their stuff, boost my mana, drop a trade secrets, a prosperity, hit a rune flare trap, game over. Psychosis crawler. It was really a psychosis crawler deck. I had 4 psychosis crawlers, I think, and that was basically the combo. Time spiral, ran time spiral over and over. Trade secrets, obviously super good. But yeah, you just hit him with the mana short, and that's that. So Eric, being the good salesman that he was, he goes, why don't you take this deck that you really love playing and we'll convert it into a commander deck? And I really didn't want to take apart my deck at the time, but you know, he convinced me to just try it because it was like new sets out, and I think they actually started coming out with like commander pre-cons, and that's what really sold me. I was like, oh, like Wizards is like sanctioning this format kind of. So that's why this card is pulled out of this case, because I had to move it to my commander deck. And so that's what I did. And at the time, I was not that excited about it, but once I found this commander to make this deck, wow, was I happy. Riku, my man. This guy brought back the excitement that I had from the game, because this guy copies effects kind of in the same way Mana Flare does. Seems to break the game to me. Again, I was playing Time Spiral in that deck. Cards like this, that card will change the game. In fact, this card was so good in this deck. What was a Psychosis Crawler deck? This is a proxy, by the way. What was a Psychosis Crawler deck, I eventually made into this commander deck here that I now refer to as my Time Spiral copied deck. Because if you copy a Time Spiral, oh, you've won the game. You have basically won the game. You know, I drop a lot of stuff like, that's an Old Forest. That thing's beat up. Basically, I've got a lot of stuff to untap my lands, snap again. The Sylvan Library running the old school proxy still. I must have pulled it out for some reason. Oh yeah, I had the, I bought a Sylvan from Legends, and I had it in here, but I didn't want to play with a $200 card. So I pulled it out for proxy, but basically you just put a bunch of cards in that make you untap all your lands, and you find good lands through stuff like crop rotation. If you copy crop rotation with Riku, that is a you get 2 lands for 3 mana and a land directly into play. So good. Stuff like Frantic Search obviously is perfect. Recognize that from the last deck. But yeah, the idea was basically you just get lots and lots of draw. You'd have a Psychosis Crawler, you'd have a Time Spiral, you'd copy it. You would basically just completely obliterate everything. The Psychosis Crawler I play with. My buddy gave me this. Here, let's just use that as a thumbnail. My buddy gave me this to play with. I thought that was a cool Psychosis Crawler. Yeah, these cards, you know, when you drop stuff like this and this, I mean, it's just game over. You've got a Lotus Veil, a bunch of lands that do multiple mana per. So anyway, I really love this deck. It's basically the reason I play Magic. I don't know. For whatever reason, I just love this combo. It's the old Mana Flare Time Spiral, copy the Time Spiral combo, and the Cyclonic Rift to match the playmat. See, Cyclonic Rift is so good in Commander that it's basically the first playmat I got. It's necessary. It's looming. It's ominous. It lets you know what's coming. It's a forecast, a warning, if you will. It's almost like a flex because you're warning your opponent beforehand. This deck really should have been an Invisit deck, by the way. I've looked into it and played with it enough that I realized that if this was the commander for this deck would be so strong. I'd have to remake it a little bit, but this deck would be really good as a Niv-Mizzet commander deck. Instead I have Riku. Yeah, we play very high-end decks. These are proxies because I don't have the real cards in the deck because I don't want it to get lost or stolen. Because I've had decks lost and I've had decks stolen, and that's just not fun. So we play with proxies because, you know, if every card's $300 or whatever, $10, point is the deck could be worth, I don't know, too much to lose, too much to stress about, enough to play with proxies. So that said, I did move to Commander, and I will show you more of my Commander decks later. That one is just the introduction. I wanted to complete the story. So later Eric did bring me back to 60 card because we went to this tournament. He ended up giving me the deck because it was just so cheap. It was like a combo deck here where you played Deceiver Exarch. This was like standard at the time, so it was like a standard format that we played. But you played just Deceiver Exarch with Splinter Twin, and it was an infinite combo. And I always loved infinite combos, and so we went to a 60 card tournament and I played this deck. I guess it was a cheap deck, but he gave me the deck to keep. Good guy. So this is really the last 60 card, the newest 60 card deck that I have, even though it was basically built and given to me, built for me and given to me. So I didn't even really make it. Just wanted to throw that out there because I'm going through it and passing by it. And it's just part of the story of how we got here. How did we get here? How did we get to the point where we're sitting here at the table, the playmat in front of us, a camera down, surrounded by cards that look like this. That look like this. That look like these. Who has this? You just pulled this out of your bulk? I guess I did. I can look at the love on that one. This is one of the last decks I made, was a Crystal Shard deck with Eternal Witness, and I would just send the Witness back to my hand over and over again. Oh, this card became so good. I saw somebody play this in Commander. Wow, what a brutal card. What a brutal card. This one's really good too, especially with Riku. Old cards I had in my Commander deck. This one's so good on tapping 2 lands if one of your lands is a Lotus Veil. Psychic Surgery is so good in Commander. These cards are so good. Actually, is that worth anything? I wonder what that's worth. Ran that in my land destruction deck, but that's just too mean in Commander, I realized. It's like the way to win Commander is just play land destruction. Picked up this because of Moxman's suggestion. It's such a good card. This is such a good card. So undervalued. I guess because Homelands was overprinted. But man, what a good card. Also picked up this one because of Moxman. Well, he suggested it. He showed me the card. He said the price was low. We thought the price was low. Yeah, I really like this card. Not many cards I like from the dark, but this one I do. I really like this one. But yeah, he got me a Moxman really suggested this when it was like $80. I think I got it around that price, and man, the prices now are like, I think it went up to like 200 or something. What a deal. Beautiful trop, the most recent trop I ever bought. I do not have that many dual lands, but yeah, so glad about this one. This is definitely my favorite dual land. Volcanic Island or Tropical Island? Probably Tropical, actually. I just love that one too. The beta red elementals. So pretty. This was the Erratic Portal, Crystal Shard, Eternal Witness deck. This is the last remnants of it here. I had Dark Stealing it so I could run 5 colors. This was part of the reason too to run that deck, was that, you know, had recently, you know, because of this set and other things that came out around then, made it a lot easier to run 5 colors, so it was really fun. It was a new experience for us, so we started doing stuff like this, and the Eternal Witness deck was just so fun. I just put like a few cards of each color in the deck, and then a bunch of stuff like Erratic Portal and Crystal Shard to send the Eternal Witness back to my hand to just keep recasting whatever I needed. You know, you run like a Swords to Plowshares, you run a Fireball, whatever. You run a Disenchant. Little beta planes just beat to hell. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. That is damaged. That is a damaged card. Look at the play on it. No, maybe not. Yeah, no, yeah, I'd say it's damaged. It's heavily played. Absolute real love from the 1990s. Yep, we used to be just at the lunch table, just on case, just shuffling them around. Oh, ridiculous. I like this card too. That said, I've started investing in these. And I got all these. And these. And these. And these. And these. And this. And some of these. Yeah, I just really want to throw cards in front of this mat. You know, cards like that, a couple more of them, you know, a few cards I took out, a few basics, whatever. Forget about them. Back in the day we used to have a few. You know, when I grew up, a basic looked like that. That was a basic land. Something like that. Anyway. Or that. Oh, this deck was so fun. Loved this thing. Oh, so good. So good when Trade Secrets wasn't banned in Commander. Oh, this deck was brutal. Oh, my favorite 60 card deck. Oh, good times.